Okay, this time around I have a battle here in the IKV 103, while bottom tier on the steps map. Of course, this is the tier 5 Swedish tank destroyer that has two gun choices. Basically, the top gun only fires heat and is unreliable and inaccurate. Here you're going to see me playing with the stock gun, which basically is a sort of modified howitzer. It fires AP, heat, and HE, like most howitzers, only the armor piercing actually has over 100 penetration, has 102 average pen. The premium heat, you can see I only carry 2 of. It actually only gains a little bit of penetration. It only has 110. And fortunately, they've reduced the average damage on this vehicle's howitser's high explosive compared to the normal tier 5 mediums, like say the M4 Sherman and PZ4H, and of course the Stug 3G can run the 105 howitzer. They all get over 400 average damage. This gets 370. So it is a modified version, but basically somewhat similar to most tier 5 howitzers. I run that. I do not like the top gun, so that is why you'll see the 3 ammo choices. The top gun does not get 3 ammo selections. It only gets 120 penetration heat and 140 penetration heat. And the reason for me running the stock gun is, of course, neither one are accurate weapons. And heat, if it hits spaced armor, which would be tracks, gun mantlets, and now, of course, since they're switching all the vehicles to HD, all those spare track links and spare road wheels that you see thrown on the vehicle, all those count. And all of those can produce 0 damage hits if your heat shell hits them. So I do not run it. I played about 10, 15 games, and they were just terrible experience overall. And I threw the stock gun back on, and I've played ever since. But game's already underway. As you can see, I am trying to support the mediums here in the east, because with the 102 armor piercing penetration, firing at lighter armor is always the better choice rather than trying to go and take on the heavies. And I'm working a little ridge line here. The T-3485 is being quite sneaky. He's staying behind the rock there and just only popping out just far enough to tempt me into shooting, but I'm not able to place a hit. At this point, we're overwhelmed in the east and outnumbered, and I am considering bailing. I keep trying to see if I can get a shot on the T-3485, and as you can see, I'm turning and about to bail, thinking we're going to be overrun. But I don't want to leave the teammates stranded, so I do circle back around. I get into the low ground here, and I'm planning to line up a shot on one of these mediums, and I decide that Cromwell's the better target. Auto aim and plant one right into the engine deck. That helped the T-34 or T-43 take him out. Unfortunately, we couldn't save the E-8 Sherman. Now this Skoda ignores me, so I'm able to plant a nice solid hit right into the side of him. And a couple of quick hits from artillery, and another shot from the T-43 finishes off all of them. So we actually were able to wipe out that push just as our T-67 and the other IKV 103 show up. And we turned what was, if you counted at one point, it was a 5-on-3 situation. And as far as I had known, I hadn't been spotted, because I don't have Sixth Sense. This crew is just barely starting to train on their skills. I just have about 30% camouflage on the crew. But as far as I know, I hadn't been spotted, so the enemy probably thought they had a 5-on-2, and now all of a sudden, this flank's lost for them. Unfortunately for us, at the same time, if you look at the scores, we've lost the entire west. So we as two competing teams have won the two opposite flanks. My team here has control of the east, their team has control of the west. And basically we have to make moves quickly. I'm thinking I'm going to try to cross and get to the rocks, and as I'm driving, I spot a Hummel. I stop, line up my shot, and fire. Now I'm out in the open, so I figure I'm spotted. So I'm actually on the move before the shot actually lands and kills the Hummel. And all of a sudden I take a hit from the T-67. I know he has to be up there in the hills, and our T-67 gets close enough to spot him. So I get into the shrubs here, and I slowly peek over, trying to help him. He's RT-67's been stunned, but he gets finished. Now, this T-67 player from Thugs, he actually stops in the open, and I land a hit, and our other IKV finishes him off. But just as soon as we tie up the score, the enemy artillery blasts the other IKV, and then I take a near hit. My crew gets stunned, but one of the nice things of this new update is you can reuse your consumables, so I punch the medical kit and get them all back in action. And I'm trying to gun it to help our T-43, but he's in a bad situation with both a Tiger and a Cromwell on him. And unfortunately, he goes down. He had been all over the map earlier, so I was really hoping to be able to get back there in time, because the T-43 had done quite a bit up to this point. So now it's down to my little Swedish tank destroyer and 2 artillery against a Tiger, a Cromwell, and 2 enemy artillery. Now we know the Tiger had been spotted back at the base. I would assume at this point he's moving up. So I flank around, and I'm going to get into cover, because I'm operating on the idea that the Tiger's probably going to be pushing up that middle ravine, with the Cromwell probably running around spotting, trying to find me or the artillery. So I decide to park in this shrub, expecting to possibly see a Tiger, but instead I spot the Cromwell. I line up a shot, and again, I'm already moving before the shot lands, because I am playing as if I'm spotted almost entirely all the time. So punch it, make use of the mobility, and zigzag along. Here are artillery hits. And I think I went dark now, so I'm circling back around. It seemed like the artillery came from either over back behind their base or off to the west a little bit. And there's another shot from the enemy artillery. They must have thought that I went to one of the shrubs and were taking just a guessing blind shot. But I have my heat loaded in case I do run into the Tiger. And I plan to kind of do some bush hopping, get in one bush, spot for a little bit, and then hop to the next one. And that's exactly what I do here. Now this doesn't have great view range, but it is very stealthy as far as camouflage values go. So I can spot, even though I don't have the highest view range ever, and my crew has no training in view range. Because right now, my equipment I'm running is a gun rammer. I actually do run a gun laying drive on this, and vents, because the reload's so bad. And I do run a gun laying drive even though I'm not the biggest fan, because with this thing, I am on the move all the time, and every time I do shoot, I want to aim quickly and get out. So, like in this case right here, I auto-aim onto him, and I keep driving. And thankfully he does miss, which that's why I was driving at full speed and going sideways. He overshot me over the left side, and of course I was able to be safe and kill him. So now, with the Cromwell and the grill down, now it's down to just the Tiger and the M41. And instead of hanging around there, I poked forward like I was going to keep driving forward, and as soon as I suspected that I might be out of their sight, I'm actually going to head back. See, I've done a lot of driving this battle, just trying to kind of play the deception game. Make them think that I'm going to keep going in the direction that they last seen me, but double around and go the opposite way. And again, I'm trying to do a little bit of passive spotting, because I'm hoping to still catch that Tiger crossing the open ground. And finally, I spot him. Now, this is where I've got heat loaded. The Tiger is one of the vehicles that will bounce my AP rounds, but the heat's just perfect for it, because he has 100 millimeters of frontal armor and 80 everywhere else. That's just enough to bounce the AP from this range of over 300 meters. But the 110 heat doesn't lose penetration over range, So it'll still hit him with 110 and punch right through those nice flat sides. I'm keeping him spotted for the artillery, but now I'm loading HE. And he's still there, and my blind shot kills him. So now I leave the HE loaded, and now it's just down to the one artillery. Which I do have to be careful. This little thing's only got 12 millimeters of armor at the most. So M41's howitzer could easily finish me off. He could easily one-shot me from full health, but with me already having taken one hit, it would be no problem for him at this point. But I see both the artillery have been active, and they're actually moving up the east flank. So I'm going to move up mostly to the west. I probably should have went a little further over in hindsight, just to be sure, but it works out in the end. Because in hindsight, the M41 could have been over further to the west, almost towards where the grill was. And I kind of halfway suspect that at this point, so I'm thinking to myself, I should double back around. So I pull up to the bush, I sit for a second, and then I think, well, I don't want to leave the artillery pushing forward on their own, so I double back towards them. And here in chat, I suggest to them that they can capture and I'll intercept if the enemy comes back. And one of them agrees. And before we even get to that point, I decided I'm going to check back up here because there's a sneaky spot over this ridge where sometimes people hide. And sure enough, there's the last artillery. Get to finish him off for one more kill. Okay, on to the results screen. As you can see, this battle got me my second mark excellence. There's the ace tanker, the bruiser. There's the fighter award for 4 or 5 enemy kills. Fire for effect. The Dimitri's award for killing artillery. And over there is the high caliber. Moving on to the team results. I want to give a shout out to the 2 artillery players as I'm showing I got 2,116 damage, 5 kills, and 1,208 experience. There's the awards again. On to the details. 14 shots that I fired. Out of those, 10 hit and 9 penetrated. A little bit under half of my damage was done over 300 meters away because I was pretty aggressive and mobile. I wasn't doing long-range sniping. As you can see, I traveled over 5 kilometers. And because I didn't shoot much premium or even carry more than 2 shots, I actually made over 36,000 credits. Just want to say thanks for watching. Please feel free to leave any feedback or comments in the section below and subscribe if you liked more. And keep your eyes open for more to come. I do have a few videos in the works. Thanks.